Hey everyone, this is Steve Jr., the creator and host of The Criminologist. Today's episode is the story of a fugitive, Eugene Palmer, a man who was one of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's 10 most wanted fugitives in the world today. The FBI maintains a list of the 10 most wanted fugitives in the world. The individuals on this list have committed a litany of serious crimes ranging from homicide, kidnapping, narcotics trafficking, to even leadership of the most dangerous gangs in the world. The common denominator of these crimes often being homicide. The other similar aspect being that these individuals have a persistent ability to evade the reach of law enforcement. The FBI has a specific criteria for determining who they include on this infamous list. The first element being that the individual must pose a threat to our entire society, and the second element being that their inclusion on this most wanted list will increase the likelihood of their capture. Ultimately, the FBI's director, currently Director Christopher Wray, gives the final approval for inclusion on this list. Therefore, the purpose of the FBI's 10 most wanted list is to provide an unmatched level of exposure, ideally leading to these criminals' arrest. One of the current individuals on the FBI's 10 most wanted list is a New York man, Eugene Palmer. Eugene's son, John Palmer, was married to a woman, his wife, Tammy Palmer. John and Tammy, they lived with their 2 children in the city of Stony Point in Rockland County, New York. The residence that this couple lived in was actually property owned by John's father, Eugene Palmer. To make matters more interesting, John's father, Eugene, lived next door to Tammy and John as well. Eventually, John and Tammy's relationship began to deteriorate as both individually went their separate ways. Both John and Tammy were said to have even started seeing other people as well. The relationship between John and Tammy continued to sour as Tammy sought a divorce and eventually filed for and received a restraining order against John as well. Tammy also reportedly sought to file suit to potentially obtain ownership of Eugene's land. Undoubtedly, this chain of events created an intense amount of friction between Eugene and his daughter-in-law, Tammy. This friction would allegedly climax to an incident that would shock the local Stony Point community and would land Eugene on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. On the morning of September 24th of 2012, Tammy walked her children to their school bus stop as she routinely did nearly every morning. This 2012 morning, her typical routine would be disturbed. Tammy's father-in-law, Eugene, was hiding in the nearby woods on this particular morning. Tammy dropped her children off and watched as they were safely driven away on the school bus for yet another day of school. As Tammy began her walk back towards her home, Eugene emerged from his hiding spot within the woods, armed with his shotgun. Eugene descended upon Tammy with the intent to kill, hell-bent on protecting his property and defending his son's honor. Eugene fired first from a distance, only striking Tammy's arm. Eugene's second shot missed Tammy, but Eugene's third shot with his shotgun would prove to be fatal, as Eugene shot Tammy directly in the chest. After murdering Tammy, Eugene drove to his sister's residence and confessed to his actions. Afterwards, Eugene would then immediately go on the run after this horrendous act, disappearing shortly after. A then 73-year-old Eugene drove his 1995 Dodge Ram truck into New York's Harriman State Park and simply vanished. Eugene's truck was eventually found abandoned at the state park. Law enforcement quickly utilized search dogs to track Eugene's scent in the state park, yet they soon lost track within the same park. The FBI maintains that they believe it is very likely that Eugene is still alive and on the run. Oppositely, Eugene's family members believe that he has more than likely died after wandering into the state park. Eugene's family claims that Eugene suffered from numerous health conditions such as diabetes and heart disease, which would have required multiple different medications. Despite the family's belief, law enforcement has yet to have located any remains connected to Eugene and therefore still consider him one of the world's most wanted fugitives. On the morning of Tuesday, August 17th of 2021, the FBI received a tip that Eugene Palmer was currently hiding at a residence in the village of Warwick in Orange County, New York. This tip led FBI agents to the residence of Jamie Lynn Rose, the granddaughter of Eugene Palmer. Jamie Lynn Rose herself documented this incident on social media, posting pictures of FBI agents on her property and claiming that nearly 40 FBI agents had descended upon her home searching for Eugene Palmer. Jamie claimed that herself and her children were held at gunpoint and handcuffed by FBI agents in their search for Eugene. Jamie Lynn Rose posted on social media stating, "They blocked off the entire road I live on. Ambulances, police cars, army tanks, and FBI agents. I have bruises all over my arms and now I am scared to open my front door. They ripped my security cameras off of my house, broke my kid's trampoline." Jamie also wrote on her social media post, "Thanks for wasting my time, traumatizing my children, and wasting taxpayers' money. I literally felt like I couldn't breathe. Leave my family alone." The search for Eugene was ultimately unsuccessful on that August morning, and the search continues. It should be noted, Jamie was not considered to be a close associate of Eugene's, yet her father, Clarence Palmer, is. Clarence Palmer is Eugene's oldest son. It is not clear who gave the FBI this tip, and the FBI has not disclosed such either. It is also not clear just how credible this tip was. One can imagine that this tip would have had to be incredibly convincing for the FBI to have organized such an immediately forceful and targeted raid on the very same day that they received the tip. Palmer is an interesting figure in the FBI's investigation to apprehend or locate Eugene. On Saturday, November 30th of 2013, after Eugene's alleged crime and disappearance, Clarence and his friend Kevin Rose reported having found skeletal remains in Harriman State Park, which they believed to possibly be Eugene's. This is the same state park in which Eugene's Dodge Ram pickup truck was found after the murder of Tammy Palmer. While I am not able to verify Kevin Rose's relation to Jamie Lynn Rose, I find it likely or probable that Kevin Rose is related to Jamie Rose. The skeletal remains were quickly taken to the Rockland County Medical Examiner's Office for extensive examination. These remains were definitively determined to be the bones of an animal. I personally have had no communication with Clarence or Kevin regarding their discovery of these bones in the Harriman State Park. Yet, I find this discovery to be very peculiar. I say this because Clarence Palmer and Kevin Rose are reportedly very experienced outdoorsmen. Not to mention, they were reportedly led to this location by a local New York psychic. It leads me to wonder whether this was an honest and innocent mistake, or rather an attempt to have Eugene falsely declared as officially deceased in order to end his massive FBI manhunt. Eugene would be 82 years old today. Eugene was last described as having gray balding hair, brown eyes, 5 feet 10 inches tall, and weighed approximately 220 pounds. Eugene was also known to have a very unique white beard with a completely shaved mustache. As of today, Eugene remains on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Anyone with legitimate information concerning Eugene Palmer can contact the FBI at their local FBI office or by simply calling 911 to report a sighting.